The content presented in this podcast and YouTube show is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the guidance of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding your health or a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard or seen on this show. If you think you may have a medical emergency, call your doctor or emergency services immediately. The host, guests, and producers of this show are not responsible for any adverse effects resulting from your use of or reliance on any information presented.
Andrea, can you hear us?
Many years ago, I died for 26 seconds. There are so many people in this world that have experienced life events that have led to their soul purpose. Wake Up Your Soul with Andrea will bring you these significant life events that demonstrate how to use those moments for guidance and life purpose. These are our stories. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Wake Up Your Soul with Andrea Lynn. Today's guest is Larry Jones, and he's here to tell us a little bit about the moments leading up to his heart attack. Let's welcome Larry Jones. Hi, Larry.
Well, hello. Thank you so much for having me on your show today.
Well, thank you for being here.
Number one, I want to tell you, hats off to you. I love your show. I listened to a few of your episodes.
Thank you.
And it's absolutely amazing. So wonderful job. Great stories.
Yeah, I'm really excited to share your story because unfortunately, I think a lot of people will find themselves in your shoes at one point or another in their life. I don't want to say a lot, but heart attacks are somewhat common and a lot of people don't really know what to expect. And from when you shared your story with me, it sounded like it was a little bit different than what I would have thought to expect from a heart attack personally. So I'd love to hear your story about what happened leading up to the heart attack.
Yeah, for me, when I heard back in the days heart attack, you think someone clutching their chest and falling to the ground. But that wasn't the case for me. For me, it came on while I was in the middle of sleeping and I woke up and I had this really weird feeling, sweating profusely, throwing up, running to the bathroom with diarrhea. And I just felt weird.
Yeah, you told me you thought it was food poisoning, right?
I really did because, like I said, prior to that, I ate a whole bunch of Chinese food. And I thought that's what it was. So yeah, so when I'm throwing up, I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to sue the pants off of these people. So not knowing what it was, I went to work anyway. Right? Went all the way to work, and I was just feeling like crap. I went into this, it was like a day room at work. It was a day room. And I went in there and I just laid on the couch. And I just wanted to sleep. I was so tired. And no matter what I put on my stomach, water, whatever it was, it just bounced right back up. And walked down the hallway. I said, I got to get started. I got to get to work. So I ran into a nurse. I don't know what she saw. But she looked at me. She said, Larry, you don't look well. You need to go home now. I don't know what she saw. I was just walking down the hallway, but she saw something. So I went home and laid down in the bed, and I slept for a whole day and a half without even waking up.
Wow.
Yeah. So then I had a nauseous feeling again without even eating anything. So it was dark. It was at night. And I run to the bathroom and I start throwing up, right? But I noticed when I was throwing up, it was like really cold, like ice water coming out of my mouth, right? And I said, what the heck is that? So what is that? So I turned the light on and it was pure blood in the toilet. And I said, this is not good. So no. I said, okay, I got to get out of here. So I said, let me just rest for a minute. I laid back down because I was so weak. Right. And when I laid back down, I drifted off again. And it wasn't like a sleep that made me feel tired, like I was restless. It was a sleep like I couldn't wake up. So I lay there, and what woke me up it's like I got stabbing pains in my chest, and my eyes popped open, and I said, "Gotta go, gotta
Mm-hmm.
go." So I got up, and like I told you before, my mom always told me, always take a shower before you go to the hospital. Always. So I took a nice shower. I was in the shower, and the water felt so good actually. Showering, my ritual, my routine, deodorant, cologne, lotion, all that stuff. And I get to the hospital, and I kind of knew what it was right then and there. I knew. They hooked me up to the EKG machine, and the nurse says, looks at it, she rips it off, looks at it, and she runs out, right? And I said, oh, Lord, here we go. Like 3 doctors come in the room, and they said, Mr. Jones, you're having a heart attack. And I'm like, okay. Next thing you know, they take me upstairs. I'm in the cath lab. They ran this thing, wire in my arm and up to my chest. And I'm watching this whole thing on camera. And they shot the dye in there, right? And it just burned. It really burned. So I'm scared at this point, like anybody would be. I was scared. Tears just started coming out. I thought I was going to be, really messed up. I'm thinking open heart surgery. I'm thinking the worst, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh my gosh, this can't be happening. But I hear the doctors talking and everything, and they're talking to each other. And they says, one doctor said to the other, well, I'm surprised he didn't damage anything. He didn't do too much damage. I see a few blood clots around his heart. We'll give him some blood thinner, keep him here for a while, and he should be fine. And I thank God that I was one of the lucky ones, because while I was in there for a month, actually, when they was taking me down each morning for my test, I'm in there, and it's a guy next to me with his chest cracked open. He's going to get tested in the morning. Another guy who has bags hanging off of him. Because I was in the heart unit, right? And I'm seeing this stuff. And I knew God was real right then and there. I said, you know what? I thank God that that's not me. That could have easily been me. I don't want to take life for granted like that again. So they told me I would be on certain medications for the rest of my life, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in my heart, I knew that wasn't going to be. I said, no, not me.
Mm-hmm.
You have to take this pill, that pill, like 8, 9 pills, right? I said, well, how long do I have to take it? He said, well, probably for the rest of your life. But in my mind, I said, no, I'm not doing that. But I knew I had to be the one to make the change. Now, I'm not suggesting anyone come off the
Don't ignore a doctor.
Yeah, please don't do that. It took me. I really made a lifestyle change. I really
work with your doctor on that lifestyle.
You have to. Don't just come off of it.
Right.
Because I didn't just come off of it. What I did was I ate different, worked out a little bit, ate more fruits and vegetables, and I kind of came off of it slowly. And I let the doctor look at my labs, let him look at my numbers and everything like that. And what he saw, he was like, wow, things are looking good. So I started taking it less and less and less. And I just went on this full lifestyle change. And when he checked my labs again, and by that time I hadn't been on my medication in about 6 months, he was like, wow, things are looking really good. Keep taking your meds. And I'm like, well, I haven't been taking them. But sometimes I'll take it. If I feel my blood pressure gets a little high, I'll take it. You know what I mean? I'm not opposed to it. I don't have anything against conventional medicine. I don't. It's just some of the long-term effects from it and the side effects from it, I'm just not really wanting to deal with. That's my story. It was scary, very, very scary. I had another scare, but luckily it was just gas that time. Just gas. I started having these pains again, and I'm like, what the? Oh my God, not again. So I run to the hospital. This time I wasn't messing around. And they did an EKG. They said, no, you're fine. I was like, but I got pain. And it was gas.
Oh my gosh. They're like, here's some gas X. Go home.
But yeah, so that was it. Yeah, it was scary.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I love that. Okay, so obviously we are not sharing medical advice, and always seek a doctor and do your own research, but can you share the things that you love for yourself for blood pressure? I know my dad really likes beet juice. He had high blood pressure and he drinks beet juice every single day, and he's been medication free. So I'm curious, like, what your favorite things are that you like.
I'm no expert, but what I know works for me is warm water first thing in the morning before you do anything else. Before you put anything on your stomach, I drink warm water.
Do you put lemon in it ever?
I put lemon and some Celtic salt.
Yes. Hmm.
Yeah, and that's it. I drink that first thing in the morning,
Yeah.
and then I'll let that settle in. Then I'll drink a green smoothie, and I won't eat until maybe around lunch. I only eat maybe once or twice a day.
Okay.
Sometimes once, mostly twice. I feel
Okay.
like the more you eat, the more you keep putting food in your body, eating 3 and 4 or 5 times a day, you're not giving that, like I said, I'm no health expert. You're not giving the other food that you put in there enough time to digest.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? You're not giving enough time to digest. So I just eat once or twice a day. And
And
I
I
check my blood pressure every morning. I check it, I say about maybe 4 or 5 times before I even leave the house.
Wow.
And it's been normal. It's been like 127/76 every
Yeah.
morning.
That's really smart. I do think it is key for people to recognize that every body is different. I just know from myself, from all the different health things that I've battled through, it was what worked for me didn't necessarily work for somebody else. And there was kind of that magical dosing of things as well.
Yeah.
With my ulcerative colitis, I had to find what was just like the perfect dose of probiotics because what they will tell you to take as a normal person was not near enough at all. And so you just have to find your magical dose of just about anything. So I
Yeah.
think that's really a key here is figuring out like what is right just for you.
Yeah, yeah, and that's true. You know, everybody's different. Everybody, you know what I mean. I've never tried beet juice. I don't even think I would like it.
Well, I know they make beet chews as well, like a little gummy chew thing. So I don't know
Really?
if those are any better. But something I wanted to bring up and talk about is how people I feel like often ignore God trying to steer them in a different direction and give them a different life, or just kind of give them that nudge and that push back onto the right path. And I'm curious your thoughts on it, but I feel like this was kind of like you were living an unhealthy lifestyle before. And so God's like, what am I going to do to get this man back on a healthy track? Because I don't want to see his life end soon. I want it to keep going. Like, what can I do? And so sometimes I think people hate to recognize that these really, really difficult moments are happening for so much good. So
Yeah,
for you, it was insanely difficult to go through a heart attack and scary and dangerous and all that, right? But that's probably the cause of your longevity here.
yeah. There's a purpose. There's a purpose for everyone's life. We just have to know what that purpose is. God knows what it is for us, right? But
But
we
do
don't.
we, but do we, Larry, like, do we have to fully know our purpose, or do we need to just lean into the day-to-day things that come to us?
I think we have to go into the day-to-day things with our eyes wide open.
Oh, yes. Love that.
Our minds open. Because if we look for certain things, we'll see it. But there's so many distractions in the world that we don't look for it. We don't even think about looking for things that can possibly be aligned for us in our future. We miss it all the time.
You
So
could not have
when
said that better. Eyes wide open. Like that is
yeah,
perfect.
yeah.
Yeah.
And there's signs every day. There's signs sent to us, but
Mhm.
we miss it. We don't see it. When something becomes real detrimental to you and it's not your time, God says it's not your time, but I'm going to
Mhm.
wake you up. I'm not going to call you home yet, but I'm going to wake you up to let you know I'm trying to get your attention. And then boom, ow, heart attack. And he makes you think, I
Yeah.
almost checked out of here. What is it you need me to do? So now, do I know? I don't know. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I know that we're all supposed to be doing good, putting out some sort of good energy and positive energy in the world. I know that much, and I think that's what I'm trying to do through my show and
Mhm.
just helping people on a daily basis, just putting out good energy. I mean, before I was I don't want to say I was a jerk, but I didn't care. I didn't care about anybody but myself. You know what I mean? But now I'm more into people's feelings, how people feel, how can I
Yeah.
help, what can I do to help someone else, and that's what it's about. For me, I think that's what it's about.
And I think, like you're saying, it is so, so important that we lean into those really hard moments because they're happening for a reason.
Yeah,
And when life is really hard, that's when we're going to learn the most and grow the most. And those are also the most pivotal moments where, like, you could have made the choice to continue to just be the Larry you were before and eat the stuff you were eating and probably just have another heart attack and then actually be done, right? And
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's like that wasn't what you were meant to do, though. But it's a choice, and a lot of people need to recognize the choices that we have and appreciate those difficult, hard, and trying days so that we can use those for the growth. That's the only reason they're happening. They're happening for the good for you to have growth.
Like I said, we have to go into this thing knowing our purpose, finding out. And my thing is this: find out what it is you love to do, what brings you joy, right? What can you see yourself doing for a living and enjoy doing it? If
Yeah.
that does something to you on the inside, that's your purpose.
Yeah.
I don't want someone to say, well, selling drugs brings me. No, no, no. It's something that really brings you joy and that would bring not only you, but it has to be, helpful to somebody else. How
Yeah.
could you help somebody else and follow that? That's what I'm trying to do. I want to be a better person. I don't want to be some guy who doesn't care about the next person, who
Yeah.
walks blindly through life. I
Mhm.
don't want to do that. I'm not easily distracted anymore. I mean, sometimes I am. Sometimes I don't always eat. I don't
Yeah.
always eat the right things, and no one's perfect.
Right.
But I don't
We're
always eat.
human.
As a matter of fact, right before we did this, I just had some fries with a whole bunch of ketchup and hot sauce on it. So that wasn't smart, but it was good. But I don't do it all the time.
In moderation. But when it comes to our purpose, I think sometimes we aren't meant to know maybe till the end or maybe at all, but I think to figure out what am I supposed to be doing with my life? I think that's where you look at your life and what were all the challenges that came to you throughout your life, and I feel
Oh
like
my
you put
God.
those together and it's like, well, that's what you're meant to be doing, is you're meant to be taking those and making a shift for yourself and for others, because what do we have to offer other people other than the things that we are most educated on? And the things we're most educated on are our most difficult and trying days.
Yeah, a lot of people think when you say helping others, a lot of people think you have to give them money. It's not about the money. It can
No.
be a word of wisdom,
Yeah.
advice, anything. I know for me growing up, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I grew up in New York City in Spanish Harlem, and it was rough for me. It was rough. I mean, we grew up, it was 7 of us, and it was, I'm just going to be transparent here. When we grew up, it was, yeah, I know somebody's going to watch it and say, well, why would you say that? But no, somebody from my family, right? But we grew up, it was rough. My dad left when I was really young, really young. I think I was like 8 years old, right? And he
Mhm.
left the home. When he did that, it left the family in a really, really bad situation. So there was no food. And this went on until my, I don't know, 13, 14 years old, maybe about 13, 14. My mom got a job, but the bills were so crazy. Her job wasn't really paying everything. So we went hungry. I mean, it was bad. Going to bed. I used to look forward to going to school just to eat the school breakfast.
Mm.
So it was sad. The only dream I had going to bed at night is when I get older, I'm going to eat McDonald's every day. I'm going to eat this every day. I'm going to eat that. Or I'm going to have a big. I would go to sleep dreaming about food,
Oh, yeah.
only to wake up to be hungry again. You
Wow.
know, so it was rough, and yeah, it was bad. And my mom recently passed away right before Christmas, December 11th. What I say, I mean, I said before she passed, one of my other stories. It was really bad. I grew up in an abusive household. He was an alcoholic, and he used to physically abuse my mom. So I had to
Mhm.
see that, had to
Right.
hear it. I can remember a time when um, he came home from work, and now it must have been about 7, 8. Um, came home from work, and he had the little brown bag with him. We saw the brown bag. We already knew what was in it.
Mhm.
And he was a musician, right? So he would come play his instruments. He played, and I have to take my hats off to him for that. He played every instrument imaginable, from the flute to the piano to everything. But when he started playing, he would drink and drink and drink, and the music got louder. And, you know, next thing you know, he'd go in the room, and then we would hear fussing, right? Once the fussing started, we would hear the thuds, right? So my sister, we went into the closet. She goes, Well, you know what? Let's go in the closet. And if you put your fingers in your ears and you wiggle them around really fast, you can't hear anything.
Oh.
So we did that, and we couldn't hear anything. Now here's another one, and I'm just going to keep it wide open for you. So here's another one. I can remember also when, because he was originally from St. Thomas, Virgin Islands, and my mom was from St. Croix, Virgin Islands, but I was born in New York City. I remember one time when we were sleeping, my brother and I was sleeping, and he came in the room, bust open the door. Get up, come on, get up, let's go, let's go. And he never did anything to us, never put his hands on us ever in life. He said, come on, get up, get dressed. And she was saying, no, don't take my boys, right? I can remember him had me in one arm, had my brother in the other, and we ended up at the airport. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, what's going on here? What's happening here?
Wow.
So he says, I'm going to tell my age a little bit. I can remember back then when the airports had these little, and whoever's watching, if you know about this, then put it in the comments here. The airports had a little black and white TV that was connected to the chair. You put quarters in it and you can watch TV and stuff. It was really bad reception, but back then, you know, it's black and white. So he gave us some quarters to put in the TV, and he went and he got on the phone. And we saw him on the phone, and then he came back, picked us up again, and we left the airport. Later to find out that he was going to take us and just take us to the Virgin Islands and just live our life out there.
Wow.
So I don't know what my life would have turned out to be had he done that.
Yeah.
I have no idea. Would it have been better? Well, I don't know. I mean, I have no idea. It probably would have been, I don't know. It's hard to say. But I think it would have been a little bit better than what it was, you know. So I don't know.
Well, I trust that you're where you're meant to be.
Yeah. And hey, listen, you can't argue with God, right? He wants you somewhere, you're going to be there. So
I'm sorry you had to go through that as a child, because no child should have to live through that.
I think that's what gave me my strength, you know what I mean? Because I feel like now nothing can really break me. I feel like it's hard to really break me mentally. So yeah, it's weird.
And
it's a good thing.
And that's where you kind of look back and think, well, maybe God knew better, right?
Yeah.
God knew what I needed to be a strong man. He knew the childhood that I needed, because a lot of people have all these childhood traumas, but if we can look back and dig deep into those and reflect on those and grow from them, they will make us into an incredible adult. So I believe God places those childhood traumas as they should.
Yeah. So I try to help as many people as I can. I don't ever want to see anyone go hungry. And here's another thing. I don't know if that's what led to my heart attack, because my childhood, think about what I'm getting ready to say here. We grew up with no food, right? Yeah. So as I got older, I started eating, and the things I was eating were really crazy and way too much. And I would just gorge, especially in New York. They had these things at the Spanish restaurants, and it's called morcilla, and it's a blood sausage. The blood, literally blood sausage, the blood of a pig, but it's so good with rice. Why would I even eat that? Now that I think back, I mean, it was good, but I would just eat the worst things possible. And that was because I got older and I was able to afford things, and I was able to eat what I want, and I ate a lot of it. So later on in life, it messed with my health. So.
But what I hear is you telling this story of your childhood traumas and the difficulties with food, and then how it ultimately led to this heart attack. But then this heart attack is what causes you to do this reflection on your attachment to food and lack of health, right? And so it's like this heart attack was this whole thing that led to you being able to reflect on your childhood and release some of that trauma that you were hanging on to as a child, and those beliefs that you held around food from your childhood. So as awful as that heart attack was, what I'm hearing is how much it shifted your adulthood.
It did. It did. It's funny how life works, right?
It is funny.
It throws you a curveball, hits you with a pitch every now and again, but you know, you get back up at the mound. If like I said, if God ain't ready for you to go home, you're not going anywhere. You know, It's up to us. It's up to us to change our life. You know what I mean? He gives us the gift, and I'm no preacher, so whoever's watching this, don't, oh, this guy's preaching. But he gives us the gift of free will. Now, what we do with that is up to us, you know, and
Yeah.
it almost took me out of here. So now I have to pay more attention and be more mindful of what I eat, how I treat people, and how I want to be treated.
That's exactly what I was talking about earlier with you saying, you know, he gives us this gift of change and it's this gift of choice as well, right? Like
Yeah,
we have the choice. We can make the
yeah,
choice, but which way are we going to lean? Like, are we going to lean into that selfish side of us, what
yeah,
we think we want, what we think we need, or really look in where do I think I'm being led? Like, where do I think I need to go
yeah.
right now in this moment in time?
It's pretty weird going through life really not knowing. And a lot of us, we do it, not
It
knowing
is weird.
what we're supposed to be doing. So a lot of us just start goofing off in life. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's like, okay, but for me, meditation works, right? So if you quiet your mind and quiet the outside noise and really
Mm-hmm.
just get lost in your own nothingness, because that's what you need to meditate. Nothing, take everything out. The answers will come to you. I was never a believer in that. I never believed in any of this stuff.
I
Listen,
didn't either
no,
years
I didn't
ago.
believe in it. Never believed in it. I started drinking at an early age, at a really early age. Jeez, Louise. Yeah, I was drinking heavy. I mean,
Yeah.
like we saw, and I'm going to get back to what I was saying, but we saw my dad drinking, my brother and I, right? And he would have his friends over there. And when they would leave, he would walk them to the door and they would leave the little, whatever it was, I don't know if it was gin, I was too young to know what it was, in a glass, right? And all we knew was it looked like water.
Mm-hmm.
So we would go in there and we would just drink what was left in those glasses. We were super young.
Oh man, that does not taste like water though, Larry.
No way. It did not. I mean, it burned. We made jokes with it because we saw them doing it. You know, we
Burning
saw them.
water.
Yeah. We saw them doing it. They would take a drink and they would make that noise. Ah, right. So I'm like, what's with the ah? So I wanted to do the ah. So I drunk it. Ah, you know. So later on in life, when I got into my teens, forget about it. I was drinking every day, just hanging out, you know, with the fellas, drinking. And here's another story for you. Me and my mom, we kind of had a really tumultuous relationship, right? It wasn't that good. It was on and off. But this particular time, something was going on between us in the house. I can't remember what it was. And I think she told me to get out or something like that, right? Get out of my house. So I'm a teenager. Where am I going to go? So I leave the house. Thank God it was summertime, right? So I just went outside and sat on the park bench with the fellas and just hung out outside. So I go back upstairs and she let me in the house and I was sitting in the living room and that's when the little Walkman's headphones was, and I had a tape of some gospel music and I
Mm-hmm.
was praying. And I didn't know nothing about prayer, but I knew I needed help at that moment. I wanted
Yeah.
change, right? So I said, I don't want to drink anymore. I said, take it away from me. So, and I was just kept saying it over and over, and I was crying while I was saying it, right? So I stopped praying. I started listening to secular music after that. And the thoughts went away, and I went outside. I'm going to go get drunk. Go outside, right? And immediately I took a drink, and I had the most excruciating headache that I've ever felt in my life. I didn't connect it to the prayer. I never did connect it to the prayer until like maybe 2 days later.
Mm-hmm.
Next day, same thing. Took one drink. Boom, my head was throbbing. So I just hold my head and everybody said, what's the matter? I said, I got to go. I got a headache. Went upstairs, slept it off. Headache was gone. Okay, I feel good. I'm going to go drink again. Boom, same thing, just bad. Then I said, oh, the prayer.
The prayer.
And then did the prayer. And, yeah,
The
and I haven't drank since then. Occasionally I'll drink. But I don't mess around with it. I
Yeah.
don't. Yeah.
I love that story. That's yeah. That's
Yes.
awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
it's prayer is powerful. It's very,
I
very
have it
powerful.
tattooed on my arm. It says prayer works. And it does work. It works.
It
You
does.
just have to believe in it.
Yeah, you
You just
do.
have to, if you can, if you can change your thinking, you can change your whole life. If you don't want to hang out with people you're hanging out with, don't do it.
Right.
If you don't want to drink anymore, just don't do it. That's freedom of choice, and life is about decisions. So whatever you don't want to do, just don't do it.
I always talk about that too with people, how if you're wanting to change your life, look at the circle of people around you. And if you don't like how they're living their life, well, guess what? You're living your life probably just nearly the same. So you need to find a new circle of people around you. And it can be hard to do. Obviously, easier said than done, right? But it's that choice that we have. And you can do anything you want in this life. You really
Listen,
can if you try and work hard enough.
you can definitely do anything you want to do. I don't hang
Mhm.
out with anybody. I don't have any friends, like really close friends. I do. I have two in New York City, but I don't have a big circle of friends at all.
Well, quality is better than quantity, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I know I'm not going to go out there and get myself in any trouble. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But you get mixed up with people that I feel like anything can happen when you're with a group of people.
Mhm.
The stupidest, weirdest thing can happen. Someone will say, "Well, oh, come on, we're just gonna go hang out at this barbecue," and you're in the house watching TV and say, "No, I think I'm just gonna relax here." Oh, come on, so and so's gonna be there. They're gonna have music, and you say, oh, "Okay, okay, I'll go." And a freak accident happens. The first thing you say is, "I knew I should have stayed home."
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Yeah. We
just
talked
don't
about
do it.
that. Yeah, we
Yeah, we
kinda
did.
talked about that on your show, talking about, like, that intuition,
The
and
intuition.
I really do believe God gives us this intuition, and I'll say it on this episode since it was on yours, but talking about, what is your intuition? And I really believe it comes from your soul path that God gives you before you're born. And I really believe He like imprints these things on you so that as you go through life, you have this intuitive like knowing already of which way and how to do things because God's already placed that on you. That's your intuition He gave you from birth to kind of lead you through your life. So lean into it. Um, and yeah, like you're saying, pray as well when
Mm.
you need the guidance, but lean into your intuition because when you have those gut feelings, they're not happening for no reason at all. Like they are there to guide you and
Yeah,
keep you on the best path for you.
right, right. When you get those gut feelings, you better listen to it.
Yeah.
Better listen to it because something is always gonna happen. And yeah, that gut feeling is nothing to mess around. It's nothing to ignore.
Yeah.
Listen to it. There's so many stories I can get into. I'll be flip flopping all over the place. I mean, with these stories, I've seen so much stuff in life. I mean, and everybody. And I don't want to sit here and seem like my story is worse than anybody else's or more
No,
interesting because everyone has a story to tell.
exactly.
A lot of people say, I wish I had $1 million. I wish I can be rich. I wish I can live in this mansion. And you can, because, like I said, everyone has a story. If you wrote a book about it, if you made a little movie about it, whatever the case, tell your story. Someone is always going to be interested in
Yeah.
listening. We're just too involved in other people's lives anyway. So we always
Yeah.
want to hear about what happened in someone else's life. Maybe it can help me and prevent me from walking down the same path. So tell your story, and there's your $1,000,000. That's how I
Absolutely.
look at it.
And that's what I'm trying to do here is share everybody's stories because I believe everybody has a unique story that is meant to help somebody out there. And so I want to get these stories out there and I want people to be able to tune in and hear how other people have dealt with their difficult times. And maybe they can apply it and maybe they can't. But even if your difficult time is not the same as someone else's, the way you handled it is something that they can take away.
Yeah, yeah. And I want to say you have a wonderful, wonderful platform here. I
Thank
mean,
you.
this is brilliant. You're getting these stories out here. Like I said, everyone has one. So you're going to be getting some really, really good ones. Really
Yeah,
good ones.
I
Yeah.
do. And I have some difficult ones coming that I know will be hard for the guests and for myself sharing, but I know they're important to be shared. But
Yeah.
if anybody's watching and you like this, don't forget to subscribe. That's most important so that you can keep following along for all the great stories. Larry, where can people reach you if they want to follow you? What's your show called? Share your stuff.
Okay, I have a show called The Power Hour, and we talk mainly about health and wellness. We talk about a bunch of things, a bunch of things. We do real stories with real people. I had one story in particular that a young lady was kidnapped and sex trafficked and escaped and wrote a book about it. I had tons of celebrities on. So you can catch me on Instagram at DJ underscore Larry Jones, DJ underscore Larry Jones. I'm mainly on Instagram. TikTok, I'm still getting the hang of it. But it's
Yeah,
all the
it's hard
same.
to be on
Yeah,
all the platforms.
it's hard.
Do you have a podcast?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? It was on Soul TV for a while. And
Okay.
that was on Roku and Amazon Fire TV. It was
Okay.
seen by millions of people. But they went into hiatus right now. So my show is not on there. So
Oh
I'm
no.
putting, yeah, crazy. But and I was really getting millions and millions of views. I started out in radio, doing radio. I was on 101 Jams in Charlottesville, Virginia. I was on 99.1 in Atlanta. So I was all over the place. I've been in
Mhm.
this business for a while. So, however I can get my message out there is the platform I'm going to use.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's been a pleasure.